January 30th, 2014, Edible Acres again. We are at the northwest corner of the property. I don't think I've ever done videos from this end of the land. This is more like zone 4, semi-wild spot. I don't really think I have a zone 5 in the permaculture sense, insofar as just enjoying it as wild nature. I interact pretty much with everything here. And what I want to talk about is this craziness. So you can see this is our open property. This is the property line, and over on the other side is the neighbor's orchard. What you're looking at here is this woven wall. This wall goes around pretty much the entire property. You can see right now I'm heading north, and I'm looking at the northwest corner of the property. There's a pin just on the outside. My neighbor was generous enough to say, yeah, go ahead, prune on his side of the property, on this side of the hedgerow, and so I did that this winter. But what you're looking at is basically a cumulative work of like 4 or 5 winters worth of pruning throughout the forest, and instead of burning it, bringing it to the property line and weaving it in. And it's dense. I mean, there are some patches in here where you're not getting through, a deer is not getting through a fair amount of this, because it's not only is it so dense. I mean, yeah, a deer could jump this, about 8 feet tall of brush, but they can't see on the other side, and it's also crazy on the other side. There's spikes and like stubs of plants. The first time they try to jump over will probably be the last time they think that that's the way to go. I have left apertures, so in other words, you can see it's a little bit weaker on the very north line, but there's a space over here that basically is an invitation for deer to come and go. This is the north line of the property. I also left this open because my older neighbor, who lives in the house to the northeast of us, he likes to cross-country ski, so we keep this open so he can enjoy it. You can see the amount of deer track through here is just through the roof. It's a huge amount. So their avenue of movement is highly focused through this property. I mean, that's distinct. Boom. Game camera set up down that way. I know exactly when they're coming and going. I know exactly from where they're coming and going pretty reliably. It's not just this diffuse, porous, they could be following any pattern. So brush wall here provides a ton of function. Number one, it clearly defines the property line. Gives me a sense of kind of contained, safe, insular. It just has a nice feeling to it. Number two, the amount of wind pressure that comes through this is nil. You have massive windstorm, massive snow load coming in from the west, hits that wall, it falls out of solution. So this is a powerful snow fence. I mean powerful. The amount of habitat in here is massive. Tons and tons and tons of birds will nest in here in the spring. Tons of rabbit activity. That could be considered a nuisance, but to me they're a source of fertility and meat, and I provision for that. I'm not going to plant, a beautiful semi-dwarf apple tree right there. I'm going to plant my Osage oranges and my hazelnuts and the stuff that can really deal with abuse. It's an excellent trellis for vining crops, so I'm going to be assigning grapes, hops, scarlet runner beans, and some loping ribes and rubus, some blackberries and black cap raspberries along this, and they'll colonize in a beautiful way. It's a fungal source, or it's a home for fungal networks to really get established. And it's a great nursery space for young trees. It protects them from drying winds in the late summer, and also the late day. The sun sets over there in the late summer, so there's a little bit of shadow in here. Probably a ton of other functions that I can't think of off the top of my head, but just wanted to show you basically the species matrix that was in here is basically all European buckthorn, Japanese honeysuckle bush, but then there are these beauties like this serviceberry, one of the nicest ones I've ever seen. First thing to flower on the property. And so by doing this pruning and weaving work, I'm supporting these kind of keystone standard species, the bigger ones. And let me just push my way through here. And suppressing the stuff that would otherwise suppress them. And so you can see now I'm on my neighbor's side of the property. and I don't know if they want me to be filming their stuff, so I'll keep it focused on the common line. And what they let me do was come through and prune out onto their land and weave it back into our common hedgerow. There's a posted sign for our property. And you can see I've taken things like buckthorn on this side and zipped them pretty much at chest height, a little bit lower, so that they'll sprout in the spring and really thicken out, create a lot of good density. And on this side, I've woven this wall to be like truck proof. I mean, this is all hawthorn, it's gonna sprout back in the spring, but by cutting it this high, it becomes a place I can jam material behind. And you can see as I walk along through here, there's like a little alley, a pruning alley that I made for myself, leaving stuff on their side kind of bigger, especially the hawthorns, the apples, the cherries, the stuff that has value for them and for the wildlife. And then things like the European buckthorn, the honeysuckle I suppressed down, but I pillared them so that they can sprout back with thinner wood and provide more visual of barrier. This is also a standard orchard, and so they spray. And so vegetatively, once this stuff leaves out, that'll be a great protection from the spray. Anyway, you can see it just keeps going. This is for the entire western edge of the property, the entire southern edge, the entire northern edge that I've woven this. Is probably maybe upwards to a mile, no, a little less than, but thousands and thousands of hours probably put into this. But the overall effect is really, I think, super useful. Very buffering, protecting, just gives a really good sense, and it gives a lot of space for things to thrive. Common principle in permaculture stuff for good ecology is that the most potency, the most life force and vitality exists at the edge of context between the forest and the open space and this and that. And this is one of like the most intense forms of edge I can create, this really dense hedge. And I'm trying to get all this work done. It's end of January. I'm trying to get it done ASAP so that the birds can occupy this soon. They're already starting to get ready to be in there. But you can see some of the spots you can't even see daylight through the bottom of it. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. And it's a lot of fun to do. It's a great activity on a really cold day. So, you know, if you have all this brush, you have tons of shrubs and all that kind of stuff, prune them and weave them meaningfully. Don't just burn them. Otherwise you're taking all that carbon and losing it. So I'll maybe make an update when this fills out vegetatively. Thanks for watching.